Hi, and welcome to this month's Plate It Up Kentucky Proud Recipe segment. My name is Kelly Burgess, and I'm the Family Consumer Sciences Extension Agent with the University of Kentucky Cooperative Extension Service in Allen County. Today we are making a delicious recipe called Kale Pesto. Now, before you turn your nose up, this recipe is really good, and it's a great alternative to our more traditional pesto sauces. So you might have seen pesto as a sauce on a pasta or even as a dip for fresh veggies. So this one is a little bit more thicker. It's kind of like a paste, and it will be used as a kind of like a dip. You could put it on a charcuterie board or just have it for an afternoon snack. So let's go over our ingredients. Once again, today I'll be making half of the recipe, and I'll explain why in just a few moments. But we have, for our full recipe, 6 to 7 cups of kale. We have a half cup of grated Parmesan cheese, 2 cloves of garlic minced, a half cup of pistachios or pecans that are roasted and salted, 1 avocado, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and then salt and pepper to taste. And it is as simple as that. So what I'm going to do, this recipe calls for using a food processor. Well, not everyone has a food processor at home, including myself. Most of the time what I do is I use either, one of those personal smoothie blender type of appliances or just a regular blender. But this is actually a chopper. You can find them at your regular big box store for definitely less than $20, probably around that $10 range. And this is one of my favorite pieces of kitchen equipment because it comes in handy for onions, nuts, and apparently kale pesto. So we are going to start out by chopping up our pistachios. So I did buy these in the shell and took them out myself. So this is a 1/4 cup because we're doing half the recipe. And I'm going to put these in my chopper. And it will get loud for just a couple moments, but let's go ahead and get these chopped up. Let's see, do just a little bit more. All right, that's good. I like to go ahead and get those pistachios chopped up. That way it doesn't, the food processor or the chopper doesn't have to do all of that in amongst everything else at the same time. So this recipe is really easy because basically all we do is just add in all of our ingredients to our chopper. So I'm gonna start by adding, and you'll know your piece of equipment that you're using, but I'm gonna start by adding probably about half of my kale just because of size and getting it to fit. It will all fit eventually, but it requires a little bit of chopping first. So I'm gonna put in about half of my kale, and then I have half of an avocado, since half the recipe calls for a full avocado. What I'm gonna do is just gently tap with my chef knife and pull the pit out. And that's a really easy way to get that without having to slip and slide everywhere. So I'm going to put about half of my avocado in here, just kind of mash that around. And then we can add more as it chops it up and that volume decreases. And then we'll also want to give it a little liquid to get started. So I've already sliced this lemon in half. We need about 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So on my first half, it was almost the juice from half of a lemon. It probably depends on what size lemon you have. But we're just gonna juice our lemon. And you can definitely just squeeze this yourself too if you don't have a juicer. You might have a fancier juicer than me, but this one comes in handy for what I need. And you can keep the seeds from getting down in the juice as well. So as you can see, it's nice and cleaned out. And all of our juice is now inside. So I'm simply going to measure a tablespoon of our lemon juice. And I might end up adding a little bit more to taste, or depending on how well this blends itself. Okay, and then we'll add our garlic. This is something that we can easily just go ahead and add in as well. And then I'm gonna put about half of our Parmesan cheese in for now too. So just a little bit, and then we'll get the rest in a few minutes. So I do recommend taking your spatula and kind of just helping it out a little bit. The more that you can kind of push things down and get it in there, the easier it will be for it to blend. So let's go ahead and see what round 1 looks like. All right, it is getting some of that kale juiced up down in the bottom, so we're gonna help it out just a little bit more here. Help it get some of those greens down in. Okay, there's still plenty of room in here, so I'm gonna add some more greens. Don't want that one to escape. And I did kind of crush this kale with my hands first before I put it in here. I just kind of squeezed it to get it to condense down a little bit. So this might be a little bit more kale than what I end up needing, but you'll kind of know based on what it looks like in your recipe. All right, so why are we using kale? You might be wondering. It is March, soon to be April, and we will be having these fresh Kentucky greens available very soon at our local farmers markets, or maybe even in your home backyard garden. So this is a new idea for using greens. If you get tired of salads or you just want something different to do, this is a great way to enjoy your greens with other fresh veggies as a tasty treat. So let's go ahead and continue blending. Should move this out of the way so you can see it is still blending. It just takes a little bit of patience and cooperation here. All right, we want to get some of that paste out from the bottom and get some of our new greens down in the base. This would also be a great recipe to try if you have family members who say that they don't like kale or don't like certain greens. This is a good way to sneak them in without it being too abrasive. I did have a couple of people taste test this who either did not like avocado or kale previously, but after trying the recipe, they did say that they would be willing to eat it in this recipe. So that was a win for me because it's always nice when we can try different things outside of our normal comfort zone. All right, we are getting very close. Just a couple more final stirs here to get those last leaves that are being stubborn. So what are some of the nutrition benefits of kale? Kale is an excellent source of vitamin A and vitamin C. So it does provide those nutrients. We normally think of vitamin A with our orange vegetables, but those dark leafy greens do contain a lot of vitamin A as well. Also, a half-cup serving has 20% of your daily calcium needs, which is good, especially if you're someone who is lactose intolerant or just doesn't enjoy drinking milk a whole lot. All right, we are really rolling now. I think this is going to be our final mix here. We do want it to get blended up though, because the goal is for it to be a smooth paste. You don't want to see the leaves still in there. We were trying to kind of disguise our kale in this recipe. All right, let's give it one final go. All right, and you'll see that it has really moved it around and blended it well in here at this point. Our leaves are chopped up. You can no longer tell necessarily that it looks like kale. So if I can get this out, I might have to scoop a little bit out first in order to get our blade out. But you can just scoop this into a bowl. It's great served cold, so put it in your refrigerator, and you can serve it with some fresh carrots and celery. You can do colorful bell peppers if you like those. You can also do it with whole wheat crackers. So if you're not as much of a fan of the fresh veggies with it, if that seems like a little bit too much, you can serve it with either like a I call it crunchy bread, but like a toasted small crostini bread that you would maybe use bruschetta for, or you can use your favorite crackers that you already have at home too. So here is our batch. So as you can see, this makes quite a bit. If this was a full batch, our bowl would be almost full. So there is our lovely kale pesto. Like I said, you can also make it with pecans instead of pistachios, but I thought the green color with the pistachios would work really well together. So this is an excellent way that you can use your fresh Kentucky greens this spring. So we encourage you to try this recipe. And if you are interested in trying the recipe, you can get it a couple of different ways. You can email barry.hyatt@nctc.com. You can also search plateidup.ca.uky.edu, or you can find Plate It Up Kentucky Proud on Facebook for this recipe and many others. So go out there and eat your greens, and we hope that you have a great day.